All right, what's going on, guys? Hopefully this looks good. I just got a new camera, so I'm trying it out here. Wanted to talk about business. Actually, more about e-commerce. I'm actually deciding to start to get into these videos. I've been a little hesitant on posting anything e-commerce related, simply for the fact because if I share some, sourcing areas, so where you guys could get access to products for very cheap, those products are all going to get flooded. If I show you guys some of the tricks towards getting traffic, everybody's going to use them, and it's going to really just saturate the market. So that's the only thing you got to be worried about for. If you're a citizen, I'll be happy to share some of the stuff with you, simply just come talk to me. But there is certain stuff, I cannot just broadcast out there, unfortunately. But there is some stuff I'm going to cover, and it's stuff I think rightfully so I can cover, because after talking to a couple people about this whole e-commerce thing, I've noticed there's a lot of confusion, honestly, in what a lot of people think e-commerce is versus what it isn't and how they go about it. So that's what I'm going to talk today. I'm going to start with really what I see is the foundational step of e-commerce, and that's understand what e-commerce is, but then finding your product or niche, or specifically your product or service. So that's what I'm going to bring up today. So without further ado, getting into it, looking at the whole aspect of what e-commerce is, a lot of people just think e-commerce is selling stuff online. And now that is true. However, there's multifacets. Or e-commerce is multifaceted in the sense that you could, yes, you're using the internet to sell stuff, but now, do you own this stuff? Is it stuff that you've created originally? Is this your product? Or are you selling third-party stuff, just relabeling somebody's product who's okay with it, or just selling just a random little widget that's not really branded, like an iPhone wire? So as you see, there's multiple ways to just sell stuff online. So e-commerce, it's a lot more vast and complex than a lot of people would simplify it to be. So here's the big question: what are you selling, per se? And it's not only just selling those stuff online. It's saying now through what method are you going to use Amazon, eBay, social selling websites? Are you going to create your own website? And then on top of that, now, is it just going to be focused on one product? Or are you going to be having like a store of many products? Are you focusing on a niche? Are you focusing on fads like ugly sweaters or just funny jokes, whatever it may be? As you see, there's a wide spectrum of what you could choose. So it goes beyond just selling stuff online. And that's where a lot of you guys, when you're trying to get into e-commerce, because I've seen the questions people ask me, and it just doesn't make sense, because I want to give them answers, but I'm saying I need more information to understand, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make your own product? Are you trying to sell something else? Are you really just trying to outsource the product somewhere, buy some cheap China products, sell it for more? Are you trying to make your own product? Are you trying to get in on fads, seasonals? What is it? That's the first part where we need to start. So that's where I start with understanding what e-commerce is, because you got to be able to wrap your head around, hey, what am I going to sell? How am I going to get the product, and how am I going to sell it? That's the first step. So there's that. The next thing you got to decide, now this is the main thing, is product versus service, because those are two things. And then at the same time too, don't limit yourself, don't underestimate, because a lot of people think e-commerce, you have to do all your transactions online. That's not true. A big part of e-commerce, which I would say is the most important part of e-commerce, is the offline business that it could generate. Because for some stuff, we use online and e-commerce to generate leads, but we only get the lead in person, in real life, just like real estate. So you actually want offline businesses. So you want to be able to think, how can you use this offline? Or that's what you got to ask yourself, is my product or service, is it just online, or can it be purchased offline as well? Will I do local stuff? Will I take advantage of local, areas and selling spaces? Because that's what a lot of people fail to realize with e-commerce. Yes, you utilize the internet, utilize what it offers, its advantages. However, you could still sell offline and even get offline now clients and stuff like that. But that's a big thing. Look at the offline game, because some people, I remember someone asked me like, oh, should I buy like iPhone 7 cases to sell? I said, yeah, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be bad online. It's going to be a lot of competition, but how you could justify it, go check your offline game and see the competition around you and see how you could factor that in and see if you could finesse something. So that's the excuse me. So the offline game is very important, but what it really comes down to is this now saying product or service, because depending on what you're selling, that will depend on whether you can do it online or offline, and I guess the quality too, because you have to actually really be providing something that even have the offline ability. But also, you got to know what you're defining, what you're selling, so that you could really maximize your efforts of where you're selling it from, the means that you're selling through, so that it actually makes sense. And now this is where it starts, because product or service, because a lot of people ask me they want to get into e-commerce, and I say, hey, do it. There's a lot of things to do. You got to find places where to get products, and you got to sell them to it. And sometimes, a lot of things I tell entrepreneurs, do stuff you're good at. So surprisingly, some of you could get involved with e-commerce with stuff you're already good at. You could simply sell a service. So understanding a service is doing something for someone. So let's say you can make websites. Let's say you're good at video editing. So if you say, I'll make a website for you, I'll edit your videos. You could have an e-commerce site around that, but what you're selling is a service. Or another way you could do this, because here's what a lot of people think, like, oh, well, I can't provide services. How am I going to ever sell services on my e-commerce site? You don't even have to be skilled at one service. You could simply hire people who could do services. So you could go hire somebody who makes websites for $100, and then go find someone who will buy a website for $500. Pay the guy $100 to do the guy's website for $500. You just made $400. Ta-da! Simple as that. So that's how you could understand. That's how you could sell services. So you could either provide the service yourself, you could be outsourcing it, but services is one thing. And now a product, on the other hand, it's saying, a service is intangible goods. There's no real good. A product, on the other hand, is like those little $5 sunglasses, iPhone cable. Those are all popular e-commerce items. Those are physical items that are sold. Your competition is simply the quality of the other product versus that person's price and what they could get it to it, as opposed to services accomplishing something. Because, when people buy services, they want something else beyond just the actual product. So as you can see, both sides are different. How you're going to market and go after your customer is going to be very different. Even your strategies in the market, considering what you're selling and how you have to compete. So that being said, what I'm going to leave you with, guys, is to understand both sides. But ultimately, when you come into this whole e-commerce space, you got to really sit down now and say, okay, how am I going to sell my products? Am I going to be doing this through multiple different websites? Am I going to make multiple different websites for multiple different niches? Am I going to make one website that's kind of like a Walmart or a all-in-ones like basic goods shop? Am I going to focus on, what is the focus of how you're going to do it? That's the first step. That's what you want to say. Then go into it, look into it, and say, okay, well, here's our focus. We will be able to sell offline. And now what I'm going to sell is a product or a service. So then once you have that, you're going to be able to go about your means and understand, hey, now I could see the competition versus not. Because really the point I'm giving for you guys, I think this is the point I left out as I'm recapping, is when you define whether you have a product or a service, essentially this is going to outline your next steps and outline how you're going to get in the business. Because now if you have a service, you do both instances, products or service, you want to look at your competitors, but your competitors are going to be very different and how you interpret your competitors based on if it's a product or a service. And then also, some steps will be more important than others. So if you're telling me you're selling a service, I would say make an effort for offline business. If you're doing a product, maybe not so much, but product would be easy. But as you see, it all depends on the situation. So again, these will be the starting points. This is where I'll leave you out with it. If you guys want to get more from this and to help me, I will make a follow-up with this next video. Simply do this. You guys comment below. Tell me what company you guys have, what industry it is, what industry it's in. Is it a product or service? And tell me everything from this video about it, so then we could go off and find the next step. And that's what I'll discuss with you guys about. So let me know if you guys like that. Appreciate your guys' time. Make sure you guys are subscribed, comment on the video, like it, share it, all that good stuff. So thank you for watching. Love you all. Peace out. Stay in school.